Blessed love to each and every one. We do give thanks to the life giver and the keeper of life, Emperor Haile Selassie I. We'd like to welcome you to this special online lecture, international webinar. Of course, I'm the Honorable Priest Isaac, representing the Priest Isaac's Institute of Holistic Knowledge. I'm inviting you to check out our website, which is priestisaacinstitute.com, priestisaacinstitute.com, and definitely browse through, visit our international radio Anu. You could also visit our shop, also our academy, which even highlights our international homeschool. Please visit Redemption Healing, where you will get more information as it relates to yoga and other packages that we have in store. Also visit our video library, where you get a lot more information, videos, and so many things that are in store. This is priestisaacinstitute.com, the international website and platform. This day, we will be going into the subject area entitled The Divine Black, Africa's Presence in All Civilizations. And we'll be looking at this concept from the aspect of civilizations in general, even as it relates to their culture, as it relates to their origin. We'll also be looking as it relates to their customs and different religions, different outlooks of theology, many different aspects of life in general. We will be showing you where the African nation and the African people not only had a part to play, but in some cases was the actual foundation of what we are looking at. So this lecture this evening, my family, for those who desire to make a contribution towards the lecture, those who may desire to make a contribution in general to the works that you see us do, those who may want to assist even with a donation towards the website as well, whatever the case is, you could use our CashApp or you could use the PayPal as well. And of course, all the information will be attached to the link that you are viewing this online lecture on. In fact, you can also utilize $Priest Isaac 27. That is for the Cash App. And for those who may be utilizing the PayPal, you could utilize Priest Isaac Institute. Give thanks very much. When we speak of the divine black, and again, when we speak of Africa's presence in all civilizations, one of the reasons why we highlight these things is because in history class and just in our culture in general, we are not taught that the melanated people of the world, the Ebonites of the world, the Black people, as we refer to them as Africans, again, not only had a part to play in all the great civilizations that we have in our history, but in most cases, almost all, if not all, the Black nation was the foundation of it, at least in some way, the origin, even the inspiration for it. So now we have to look, first of all, at Africa's contribution to its own civilization, of which we know quite well. And I know most of the time when we speak of Africa, we have to meditate on the great Ethiopian highlands, also known as the roof of Africa. Yes, it is referred to as Ethiopia today, but you got to keep in mind that that area known as Ethiopia and that area of Sudan, which is now North and South Sudan, and Eritrea, and even Somalia, we're talking about the ancient kingdoms of Punt. We're talking about the ancient kingdom of Nyam. We're talking about the ancient kingdom of Tarseti. So you have the kingdom of Tarseti, you have the kingdom of Nyam. These are civilizations that are up the River Nile to the south, because civilization came actually down the River Nile, going northwards. So in this area, I mean, northwards specifically is Kemet, southwards is Sudan, Ethiopia, etc. That area, Sudan, Ethiopia, etc., in the south is higher lands, and that is the ancient Nubia. That is also the ancient Kush, which again are the kingdom of Niam and the kingdom of Tar Seti. And civilization came out of the River Nile and went down south, coming out of the highlands. So when we speak of Ethiopia and the glory of Ethiopia in general, we speak of the most ancient or oldest fossils of the findings of human beings and pre-human beings. So we speak of Lucy, also known as the Ignish, 3.2 million years old. You could also speak of Kadanumu, which is 5.7 million years old. So as far as contribution to its own civilization, it shows in general that humanity, in general, started in Africa. Humanity as we know it, modern human and even pre-human, would have begun in Ethiopia. And then also we look at the ancient cultural writing known as the Medu Neter, also referred to as the hieroglyphics, but that is Greek for sacred writings. But the Medu Neter is the writings of the gods, Medu Neter. Now, of course, this ancient writing, which is seen in the symbolic fashion and symbolic form, may not be widely used today, but the language that we speak today in modern time, at least the vast majority of it, has its root again in Medu Neter, because this classical language is the foundation of all the main scripts that brought us all the different languages that we have today. So this is actually the first known construct of a language with a script, again, the Medu Neter. And of course, the Medu Neter, or the hieroglyphs, is usually related to Egypt, is usually related to Kemet. But again, let's keep in mind, before Kemet, you had the ancient kingdoms to the north. This is why we highlighted again the kingdom of Nyam, and of course, the kingdom of Tar Seti. And these ancient kingdoms actually were those that brought forth this language. The language itself was not in its perfection until it went to Kemet. But prior to the development of Kemet, as we know Kemet today, the language itself, known as Medu Neter, was already in its beginning stage. And again, you can find that in ancient Nubia, which is the same ancient Kush. So keep in mind, from the Medu Neter script, you got the what is known as the Demotic script. You came down to the Coptic script. You get languages, even the ancient Ge'ez. You have the Syriac script. You have the Phoenician script. All of these scripts came off of the ancient Medu Neter, and all the different languages that you hear we speak today, even down to Latin, comes from an African script. That is very, very, very important for us to keep in mind. So when we speak again about what the Black nation, Africa in general, gave to the world as civilization, then we have to bring in for sure the super genius Imhotep. For Imhotep himself is considered as the master, the grandmaster, the architect, the ancient scientist. Great Imhotep was a astronomer himself. He was the individual, the engineer that commissioned the building of the great pyramid of Saqqara. So when we hear about pyramids in general, Of course, we would speak about the pyramids, the great pyramids of Khufu and Khafre and Menkaure, and of course the Sphinx, as it's called, the Akhet, also again referred to as the Sphinx. But according to our historical knowledge, prior to these monuments, you had the Great Step Pyramid of Saqqara, and of course this was a new this was an innovation in building where you would place one mastaba upon another mastaba, upon another mastaba, and etc., etc., until you got what is called the Great Step Pyramid. But the great engineer and architect behind this was the great Imhotep, the ancient scientist. So this is considered as the first pyramid, although there is a school of thought that will say that the Great Pyramid, as we know it, is much, much, much more older than we give it credit for. But the point I'm making here is that you could see now that we are giving to the world the science of building. We are giving to the world the science of engineering. This is why when you go through the great temples at Karnak and the temples of Ramesses, and you see the great columns that were built by the ancient people of Kemet. These are the same columns, the Doric columns and the Corinth columns that you see that they use in Greece, yes, in Greece. These columns now, these Greek columns specifically, are replicas of the ancient columns that you see in the Temple of Ramesses, etc. Just for example, like what is known as the obelisk, which we call the Tekken. The Tekken, the Washington Monument in Washington, D.C., is a copy of the ancient Tekken. It is a replica, somewhat, of the ancient obelisk in Africa, in Kemet. So in the same way, the Greeks, when they came to ancient Kemet, because you must keep in mind that the Greeks came to Egypt to learn what they learned, what they know. All of these Greek people that we hail today, Herodotus and all of these fellas, and we believe that we have to go to these Greek universities and we have to join these Greek fraternities and alpha beta this and alpha beta that. And all of us like to talk about my alma mater and all of these Latin mottos that we have. You got to keep in mind that these fellas got all what they knew, all the knowledge. Pythagoras and all these people got their information at the feet of the priests and the mighty noble people of ancient Northeast Africa. So this is why when you look at the structure of the architecture of ancient Africa and you compare it to that of Greece, you could see the similarity. But of course, that within ancient Africa is much greater, much larger and mightier and even stronger. So again, you could see us, even in the ancient motherland, actually adding, or not even adding, but giving architecture and high engineering to the world. Talk about high engineering. You know, they say only the pyramids at Giza can really be compared to the churches at Roja Lasta in Lalibela. Of course, you have the church here of Kedos Girugis, also known as the Church of St. George. And you could see, if you take a closer look, you could see specifically the fine details within this, the sculpture and perfectly, the perfect angles that you see to create this cross. The Rock Church of St. George, of course, just carved out of the mountains, carved out of the rock mountains too, the volcanic mountains. Here you have another church. I think this is Abba Libanos, just in the wall or inside of the mountain, and the roof of the church is the mountain itself. Remember, this is not something that was built with stone and mortar. This is the mountain carved out to form this beautiful church. And this was done under the reign of King Lalibela there in Ethiopia. So this is, it is obvious that our understanding of technology was definitely way ahead of even this modern day technology. Then of course you have in Gondar, the mighty castles of Africa. These are not European castles, family. These are not the castles of the Tudors. These are not the castles of the Windsors or none of these people. These are the castles of the Ethiopian kings, Fasaladis and these ones in Gondar. African castles, showing you now that again, we're showing you where everything came from, where all the ideas came from. So when you hear about King Arthur and his castles and Merlin inside of the castle, and because remember in those places, their castles and their towers and Tower of London, and so them is jail for some people, and even where they go and kill their own king and queen. But now, as I said, the castles in Africa, you could look at this castle in Gondar, it actually looks like a lion with the head and the legs and, you know, looking in whatever direction that is, you know. So you could see there, my family, when it comes to building, when it comes to engineering, when it comes to architecture in Africa, we already, you know, let out, not just, you know, going out first, but the levels of technology in our building. It's not just building a house, the levels of technology that we had to create these monuments. The Great Pyramid of Giza alone stands out. The pyramid that aligns with the movement of the stars. The pyramid that is built geologically and still geographically perfect. And as it relates to the latitude, the longitude, the acre of land that it's on, everything about the Great Pyramid of Giza is perfection. And then again, the engineering skill of Imhotep and the great ones, and Ramesses II and great King Lalibela, etc., and all the kings of Ethiopia. So obviously, again, when it comes to the architectural world, this is way before any cathedral in Spain or any cathedral in Italy or any catacomb in Rome or any of these things. Before that, you specifically had these ancient works in Africa. Then we're still in Africa. We're still in Northeast Africa. We're still in ancient Kemet. And we're looking now at the temple of Abydos. And on the roof of the temple of Abydos, we are actually looking at the constellations of the heavens. So in other words, what we know as the heavenly constellations, what we know as the zodiac belt and the zodiac sign, the ecliptic belt, etc., were already mapped out in the heavens for us. So when you go and you look at the temple of Abydos, specifically on the ceiling, you see Taurus the bull, you see the Capricorn, you see Pisces right in front of you, you see the two fish, you see Pisces the fish, you see Virgo, you see all the different constellations within the cycle of the constellations in the zodiac belt. So that is showing you now, even before modern day astronomy, even before astrology, we were already mapping out the heavens and mapping out the stars, and we could show you it in beautiful formation in the same way that we have written everything in esoteric language. So now when you go to Sumer now, Sumer is an ancient kingdom in Iraq, Mesopotamia, that area of the world, Sumer. People may consider it outside of Africa, but you must keep in mind that the kingdom of Sumer came out of Ethiopia. Even the Bible shows you that, again, in very symbolic writings. Remember that they say Cush was the son of Ham, and from Cush came Nimrod. Nimrod was the son of Cush, according to that genealogical chart, which is very highly symbolic too, because Nimrod represents Babylon, which is the same area of Sumer. So people will say that Sumer is ancient Babylon, or ancient Babylon definitely was a part of the landmass of Sumer, because Sumer is a bit bigger than Babylon itself, the ancient kingdom of Babylon. I hope you're following me good. But yet still, Nimrod Nimrod is the son of Cush. That means Sumer is the child of Ethiopia, just like Egypt is the child of Ethiopia. So Sumer, as we know it, being a black kingdom, definitely is the child of Ethiopia. And many people credit Sumer for bringing astronomy to the world. So although we could show older artifacts again from Kemet itself, beyond Sumer, but at the same time, even if that was so, it is still a black nation, because Sumer, again, is the direct child of Cush. All right. So now, when we come out of the African scope now, because that is Africa, even Sumer itself, you could argue that we're still in the realms of the African nation. But then let's go beyond that. Let's go to Greece, which many consider the foundation of European civilization. Now, let me repeat again. The reason why Greece could be the foundation of European civilization is because the Greek people came and sat at the feet of the ancient people of Kemet. They came and sat at the feet of the builders of the pyramids. They came and sat at the feet of the builders of the temples. And they read the scrolls, and they learned the language, and they understood the mathematics, and they learned about algebra and all these different things, the sciences, the chemistry. That's why it's called Kemet, or that is why it's called chemistry, because it comes from Kemet, and physics and even biology. They learned all of this. And this is why they could go and build a civilization that is renowned now, that the whole world admires, ancient Greece, you know, to the point that it is the standard of education, you know, in our modern day time. Yeah. All right. So when you look now, for example, at the gods of Greece, you have Zeus. Now this is Zeus here. And as you can see, Zeus is as black as they can get. This is the Greek god Zeus. You hear about the clash of the Titans. This is the Greek god Zeus. And people would argue that, well, you know, the color black in some of these statues, sometimes it has to do with the material it was made from, or sometimes the painting is very symbolic. And some people even go as far as to say, well, the painting is old and, you know, it's a bit dirty. That's why it's black. Even some would tell you, well, you see, they've been lighting candles under that painting for centuries. So the soot from the candle has darkened the color of the skin of the Virgin Mary. That's why she's black there. Yeah, but her eyes are still white, you know. But I mean, the point is that you could even look at this vase here, and you can see there's three people and an animal in the picture. One of the persons, he's very black. The other two, they're not black. So there's a clear distinction here between him and them. And as I said, that is Zeus. Then you have other gods. This is Achilles. He's just as black as Zeus, black like midnight. So the point is that even when you go to Greece, ancient Greece, in the origin now of their civilization, we're talking about their gods. Those, whether they created the gods or whatever the case is, but they portray them as being black and very black. Even cases where you see the gods with locks. So that is just to show you we're dealing with Africans here. So when they went back to Greece and they started to revere the heavenly hosts, they made sure they portrayed them in the way that they saw them in ancient Kemet. All right. You can look at the vases of ancient Greece, some ancient vase in Greece, and you could see again some of the warriors. I think these are Trojan warriors, And you could see how they're portrayed here. Also, this is another vase as well. You could see again, it's not no confusion with the color. They're black and they're white. All right, once more, you can see. But the main point here that we are highlighting to you, family, is that in ancient Greece, which is considered to be basically the forerunner of European civilization, you can see the obvious presence of Black people. I mean, most of us, if we don't even take the time to look into this, we would believe that there were no Black people at all in Europe until they came and got us out of Africa. That's the impression that we would have, not knowing that not only we were there, but we are the foundation of it. Even in the same Iraq and Jordan and Syria, these places of the world, the Arab world, you still have us there, but it's not something that is celebrated because we are all over, because we are the foundation of these people. Then now you have here a Greek man in Anatolia, and this is like 200 BCE. We're looking at a statue of a Black man with his locks, talking about 200 BCE, and this is in Greece again. Greece we're talking about, before Christ. So before Christ, in Greece, there's obviously a reasonable Black population of notoriety that you could speak about. Then, of course, you have Greek vessel in the form of a youth licking his lips, and this is now from 400 BCE. So we've gone 400 years before Christ, and we're talking about the obvious presence of Black people in Greece. He's obviously Black. You can even look at the nose structure, and we're talking 400 years before Christ. You have another statue here, obviously African type, phenotype for sure, another Greek rendition, and this one extremely Black. And again, you know for sure, because again, people may say, oh, the Black is symbolic. Some people go as far as to say, well, they paint the male Black and they paint the women white because this is what they're observing. This is what they think they see. Okay, so they paint this one Black. Some people argue this is a female. But even if it's a female or a male, you can clearly see it's a Black person. Watch the lips. So this is not a white person that they just paint Black for symbolic reason. Look at the hair. The Greeks clearly understood, without any shadow of a doubt, the importance of the Africans in their civilization. That's exactly what it is, you know. Again, from these ancient Greek portraits, you could see that there are obviously different shades of people in the civilization. But what we're highlighting again, that if it was left to them alone, you would believe that Black people had nothing at all to do with the foundation of Europe. That is my point. All right. Now, specifically, we are actually going a bit now to Rome. And we are highlighting now individuals in this civilization that also stand out because, of course, you know, they're not going to tell you about the Black emperors of Rome. No, they would never tell you about the Black kings of Britain. Yes, they had Black kings of Britain. They'll never tell you anything about the Black popes of Rome. You sure they have Black popes of Rome? Don't be telling us any lies now. Yeah. This one is Septimius Severus, pardon me. Severus, pardon me. You know how it is with the language, Severus. But anyway, he was specifically a Roman emperor from 193 to 211. And here it is, he was born in Libya, in present day Al-Qum. This is obviously Northeast Africa. Check him good. And you could see obviously he's a slightly different complexion from his wives. So this is Emperor Severus. And he specifically, without a doubt, you could just look at him and see that he is of African stock, and he is the emperor. I repeat, the emperor of Rome. So again, if it was up to, just history in general, you would never know this at all. They would purposely keep this from you. And then now we come down to the popes of Rome. We have 3 major popes of Rome. So the point is now that when you hear them talking about, well, we might have the first African Pope of Rome. Yeah, every time the Pope changes, you hear them talk about that. At least since I've been checking the changes of the Pope, when Pope John Paul died, when Benedict moved, and now Francis is there, you still hear them saying, well, maybe the next Pope might be Black, and we might have our first African Pope, first African Pope. That would be wonderful. Well, you see, family, according to history, we've always had African popes. You have Pope Victor I. This is the one you're looking at. He's Pope Victor I, and he is the 14th Pope. And he served from 189 AD to 199 AD. You understand? That's Pope Victor I. So this is just like there's like a few centuries, if history is correct, after Christ. Yeah, 189 AD. All right, and he's obviously a Black man. You can look at his face, look at his fro and everything. Not just dark in skin, he is a Black man. Then you have Pope Miltiades. He also, obviously, when you take a good look at him, you can see he's an obvious Black man with the Black man here, that Central African look and that West African look. But you see that look you see there too. It is not just Central Africa and West African. It's all over Africa, East Africa, Northeast Africa, South Africa, that look there. So that's obviously a Black man. And he's also referred to as Saint Melchiades, or as I said, Miltiades. And he's said to be the 32nd Pope. And he served from 311 AD to 314 AD, once you are here taking your notes. So you could see now, so we're dealing with popes of Rome, family. And if you tell the regular person, hey, I know that they have at least 2 or 3 popes of Rome, people will actually tell you, well, that are Black, I mean. People would actually tell you that you're mad, something's wrong with you, you crazy. They'll ask you if you're crazy, just for you highlighting something historical that they don't know about. That's just to show how far we've gone. And then you have Pope Gelasius or Gelasius. Pope Gelasius is the 49th Pope. And he came to office in 492 AD. So check this out. When he became Pope, that was exactly 1,000 years before Columbus so-called discovered the Americas. Not 100 years, when Pope Gelasius the first, the 49th Pope, when he came to his power, that was a whole 1,000 years before Christopher Columbus came and got us. Columbus we're talking about. So that is to show you now, because many people, when you hear Black History Month and these things come around, many people in some form or some fashion tend to make it seem as if our history began with Columbus. You'd believe Columbus was God, because until he came for us, nothing was going on in our favor at all. You know what I mean? And this world that we admire, the Roman world, the Greek world, the European world, we didn't have even nothing to do with that when we were the foundation of the world. Yeah? We were those worlds, I should say, those civilizations. So as much as they would like to keep us out of it, we played a very, very important part. And we are in Europe here, That's why I began in Africa, to show you the obvious. And we didn't stay too long there. But that's why I began in Africa, to show you the obvious, because we started at home. As they say, dance a yard, and then you dance abroad, you know. So we danced a yard, we perfected it at home, and then we went internationally and shared our knowledge and information with the world. So that is why you're seeing pyramids all in South America and these different things, and we will get to that. That is why you're seeing pyramids and mounds in China, and we will get to that, because it's from our, you know, our origin of civilization amongst ourselves. And then we went and brought civilization to the rest of the world. This is very important. And this is something that we need to teach our own children, so that they have a better sense of, you know, inner pride. Yes, inner pride. This is not just knowledge, you know. This is psychological security, you know. For real, man, know thyself. All right. So basically, still in the Roman tradition, basically the Roman Christian tradition now specifically, well, yes, and Christianity in general. Christianity in general, because Christianity in general now has specific saints that stand out. Even Ethiopia has specific saints like Saint George, which is seen as a European in the European tradition, but the Ethiopians see Saint George as just that, as an Ethiopian, you know. But then you have some key saints that are considered the Black saints, or saints that are considered Moors. And of course, you have the great, you got the great Saint Maurice, of course, that we are looking at here. And Saint Maurice is a mighty general, you know, very outstanding individual as Saint Maurice. And actually, he's considered the saint. He's a martyr as well. He was the general of the Roman army, and he was sent out with 6,000 of his African soldiers to put down a rebellion against the Roman Empire. And then when Saint Maurice realized that the people that he was going to fight against were Christians, Saint Maurice told his army, no, don't attack them, because they're Christians like us. And when the Roman emperor at the time realized what Saint Maurice had done, he executed Saint Maurice and a good amount of his soldiers. So Saint Maurice now was a martyr and was made a saint, obviously, eventually. And he's a Black saint, Saint Maurice, and he was showing love, and that is why he's considered such a beautiful soul, because of the love that he was showing, not wanting to destroy his Christian fellow men. And then now you have Saint Martin de Porres, and he is from Peru, specifically from Lima. And Saint Martin de Porres was considered to be a miracle worker. You know, he as well had love for the poor. In fact, he gave so much to the poor that he was also chastised for that. And he actually said, when he was disciplined, that he was sorry, but he did not know that the rules and the principles had more power over the love and charity, you know. And then when he made that statement, those that disciplined him forgave him and definitely took away the discipline from him, because they understood that he is a man of love and a man, you know, that acts from the heart. So he became a saint. He's considered a miracle worker. He's considered a healer. He's considered to be so holy that when he prays, he levitates off of the ground. That again is Saint Martin de Porres. And then now you have Saint Anthony. You would hear about Saint Anthony. Saint Anthony is considered to be the saint of all monks. Saint Anthony is from Kemet, from Alexandria in northern Africa, northern Egypt, again, northern Kemet. And he now being the monk of monks and the saint of all monks, because he took his monkhood to another level. In fact, most monks, even in Ethiopia, again, consider him the father of monks. You know, it is said that he came out of a very wealthy family. And when he inherited the wealth, he just gave it away. And then he went into a cave and he stayed there for a long while. He's one of those monks that people had to come and beg him to come home and beg him to come back to the village. Auntie and uncle want to see you. But St. Anthony refused to move. They say he would eat once every 4 or 5 days, sometimes once a week. He would fast for days on end, you know, within his own self. So he's considered a very mighty saint. Again, that's St. Anthony of Kemet, St. Anthony of Alexandria. And Alexandria, of course, is in Egypt, named from the general Alexander that they say actually conquered Egypt. All right, wonderful vibration here. So as you can see, because in reality, the individual that they teach us of, I'm talking about the same Saint Anthony, they usually portray him, you know, as being white for sure, and we never really know of him being black. Then you have Saint Benedict, considered Benedict the Moor, and he was known for his mild demeanor, and he also had a very humble spirit, and he was considered to be a very holy hermit. That is Saint Martin. He as well, he's the one that is known for doing a lot of miracles, and he would keep the Lent at least 7 times in 1 year. So that's another level of fasting where people fast for 40 days. He would fast for 40 days about 7 times during the year. But again, when you study the Ethiopian calendar, it's about 200 and something fasting days when you add everything up that they have per year, which is basically the same thing which Benedict the Moor was doing. So Benedict the Moor is also another saint within the Catholic Church, within Christian community in general, and it's obvious that he is an African. And then now as African can get, another mighty saint that stands out, this one specifically from Uganda, known as Charles Lwanga, and this is a mighty saint. He's said to be one of the 22 Ugandan martyrs who they say converted specifically, and they have portraits of him going up to heaven with Christ. And that is Charles Lwanga, considered a saint. And it says that it was Pope Paul VI that canonized him and his companion in 1964 on the 22nd of June. It is said that he was murdered because he didn't accept homosexuality from one of the rulers there in Uganda. Can you imagine that? So that's another mighty saint. Give thanks for sure. And you can see African to the bone. And all of these saints are within the Roman Catholic tradition, within the Roman Church. So again, this is why I'm showing you all of these things. I'm showing you where the Africans would have, you know, fit in all these ancient traditions, and exactly how they would have established themselves and assisted in building other nations and giving other nations life and rhythm and salvation in general, and ethics and morality. That's what we do. Here you have Queen Charlotte. This is the Queen of England, a Black woman, Queen Charlotte Sophia. Again, this is another individual that they would not really be quick to tell you about, but for sure, when you hear about Black queens of England, you definitely will know that you must highlight the beautiful Queen Charlotte. And then now, this individual you have here is an individual known as John Blanc. John Blanc is considered to be the main trumpeter of the King of England, Henry VIII. So the main trumpeter of Henry VIII was a Black man known as John Blanc. And you see him here blowing. Da, 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 da. There's several portraits, and obviously you can see there's a difference between him, even the way that he's moving with his hair wrap and everything, and the other fellas there looking like the jacks on the card game. But you could see for sure that he's a black man, an African man, and as I said, that's in the Tudor kingdom of England, if I'm not mistaken, Henry VIII, and he is the main trumpeter of Henry VIII. All right. So again, even as it relates to biblical literature, I think we all know by now, if you were to just go and Google oldest Bible in the world, although people will debate that it's this Bible or which Bible is the oldest Bible written in Hebrew, and which Bible is the oldest Bible written in Latin, and which is the oldest version of the Old Testament. People will argue all day long, but for sure, Ethiopia always comes up. Ethiopia for sure have some of the oldest manuscripts, not just one Bible. Ethiopia has some of the oldest manuscripts as it relates to biblical literature. When you say Ethiopia has the oldest Bible, you need to keep this in mind. Other places that claim they have maybe the oldest Bible or maybe the oldest version of the New Testament or something of the sorts. It's one book. It's a Bible they have maybe in a museum, and they will bring you in the museum and say, look, this is the oldest Bible written in Hebrew. Look, this is the oldest scroll. But when we say Ethiopia has the oldest Bible, it's not one Bible, you know. In fact, I am sure nobody has ever seen the oldest Bible in Ethiopia. This is what I'm saying. So it's not a Bible somewhere in Ethiopia that is well preserved. That's the oldest Bible in the world. Ethiopia in general have the oldest religious writings. That's the point. Biblically speaking, that's the point. The oldest biblical religious writings are in Ethiopia. Not one, not two, but they're all over, some of which people never see. I'm telling you, that's what I'm trying to say. There's thousands of old books in Ethiopia that are older than any other books that are considered biblical texts anywhere. So in other words, when you go to Germany and they show you this Bible from Leipzig or the Leonard Graf Codex or whatever, it's a book preserved. Maybe God's a God in it too, because it's one of a kind. But in Ethiopia, I mean, it's just common. Every monastery have an old Bible. Some going 500 years ago. Some gone back 1,000 years ago. Some gone as far back as 1,500 years ago. And that is in Ethiopia. So the point is, Ethiopia in general, when it comes to religious literature, on the level of biblical understanding, not just Christianity, but all that come out of the biblical level, biblical understanding, they owe credit to Ethiopia for preserving it, and obviously for being a foundation of it. That is why you find so many manuscripts in Ethiopia, biblical manuscripts in color, in the Ge'ez language too, not necessarily in Hebrew, in the Ge'ez language as well. All right. Then, of course, the concept of God, the Trinity, you know, being of African origin. This is something that you have to highlight too, because many of us, we grew up knowing that God was white. There was not even a debate about that. God was nothing else but a European. You shouldn't even raise the conversation. That's what it is. There's nothing to say. Story done. But in ancient Ethiopia now, you could see the angels are black. And you could see the Trinity of God is black. And yes, that is in ancient Ethiopia. But of course now, even when you go beyond ancient Ethiopia, well, not beyond it, but to other nations. Let's return to Rome now in general. Now, this is Byzantine Rome. And this is under the rule of Justinian II. And this is around, 711 AD. And this is a coin that was minted during that time that shows you Justinian. I think it is him and his son, on one side, and on the other side, you have a portrait of the Christ, the Yahushua, what people call Jesus Christ. But it is super obvious. It is over obvious that the Christ has a different look than Justinian. Now, I know Justinian is a European. And let me explain this, family, so you could understand where we are going really with this. This is like 600 to 700 AD, yeah? So we're talking about what, 1700 years ago or so? All right, or more? No, not that much. No, not that much. About 1300 years ago. So we're talking about 1300 years ago. All right, good. And we're seeing a portrayal of Christ. So the thing is now, many of us, we tend to believe that this thing about Christ being black is some new fad, something that just came into fashion yesterday. But the point I'm making is that before Christ was white, Christ was black. Even if you believe it's just a religion and they made up the story, whether they made up the story or not, what about Zeus? Zeus is a make-up story, but before Zeus was white, Zeus was black. So I'm showing you before to use the term Jesus, before Jesus was white, if this is supposed to be Jesus, doesn't look like him to me, but anyway, Jesus was black. So this Christ figure, look at his hair. You can see the hair is different specifically than the hair of Mr. Justinian there. You understand? And then now, when you go into the different catacombs, you have different, you have the different frescoes. Here you see the fresco of the young Christ. Above, all of this is in the catacombs of Rome. Above him, you have the rainbow, the red and the gold and the green, and the young Christ figure with his disciples. These brothers have fros and afros. These are black Africans. And again, these are seen in the catacombs of Rome. All right, during the Roman Empire. And then you have another fresco of Christ bringing Lazarus back to life. This is the story of Lazarus when he was wrapped up. You could see the Christ pointing his finger and the crowd behind of him, and Lazarus is coming back to life. Then you have this famous fresco here. This one is at the Via Latina Catacomb. This is in Rome, and this is from 320 AD. So all of these paintings, you have them from 320 AD, some of them even from BC time. And this one is Abraham and his son Isaac. And as I said on a program prior to this, this is 5 years before Constantine had the Nicene Council. And for those who know what Constantine Nicene Council is all about, Constantine is the emperor of Rome, who people, if you want to use the term, credit with the beginning of Christendom as we know it. Constantine, Emperor Constantine. And that was 325 AD. But 5 years before that, you could find the painting of Abraham and Isaac in the catacombs, in the same row, the Via Latina catacomb, and you can see Abraham as being black and Isaac being black. Then you see Moses again by the burning bush, an obvious African. This is not, the painting got dirty over the years. An obvious African. In fact, these paintings here of Moses are said to be at least between 300 BC to 100 AD. So that's a very seriously old painting. You see Moses and Aaron here splitting the Red Sea. So the point is that you have black renditions of Moses, you have black renditions of Abraham. These are key figures, and this is before the beginning of Christendom as we know it today. This is before the Nicene Council of Bishops. This is before the Kingdom of Rome became the Christian Kingdom of Rome. And so this is the proof to you that the Kingdom of Rome, the same Constantine, remember, it was the followers of Christ that he was persecuted before he became a Christian. I don't know how we can believe that quote unquote Christianity started with him when he was persecuting Christians. He was persecuting the followers of Christ, not necessarily the followers of Christendom. He invented Christendom. So obviously before him, there were people that admired and revered Moses and Abraham and Christ. But they saw these individuals as being Africans. And even in his same kingdom, we prove to you that emperors that came after him portrayed Christ as being a black man. So it's only as a tool of slavery that the Christ became white, and Moses became white, and everybody became white. And whoever we can get white, just don't say nothing about them. It's only with the onset of enslavement of the black nation, which is a psychological enslavement as well, why everyone had to become white, or if we can't get them white, well, just don't say nothing about them at all. All of these ancient pictures of the Messiah and his disciples from Rome, keeping in mind, these are not African pictures, these are European pictures. Most of what I showed you thus far are from Europe, just trying to bring to your understanding that Europe is not a European concept that they gave us. They made up a concept and gave it to us. The European concept is an African concept because Europe built itself off of African philosophy, off of African engineering, off of African science, mathematics, language. That's what Europe built itself off of. You know, it didn't build itself off of itself. Somehow they want us to believe that. Then you have the beautiful Black Madonnas. These are in Europe too. This is the Black Madonna of Montserrat, not the island. All of these are European Black Madonnas. So in Europe, in general, the mother and the Christ child was always seen as African, as you could obviously see there. In Europe, the mother and the Christ child was always seen as African. Well, no, my brother, you see these paintings here. What has happened is that they've been there a long time, I tell you that. And the candles, you know how it is when candles release the soot. And so what it did, it darkened the face of the mother and the child. Yeah. So, that's why they look like that. Yes. Okay, fair enough. So look at the angels here. Look at the angels here. When you observe the angels are lily white. The angels are lily white. Now, I'm not telling you angels are lily white, but I'm just saying that the artist clearly made a distinction between the virgin mother and the child. The child even looks like he has a little fur. Anyway, the artist made a distinction between the virgin mother and the child as far as skin complexion when compared to that of the angels that are holding up their crowns. I think anybody can see that. So for sure, it was purposely done to make this picture what it is, African in origin. And this is why when you go throughout Europe, Russia, ancient Europe, the rendition of Christ and his mother has always been black. Look at that. I don't really like to use, pictures with watermarks, obviously. But I just thought that this one was so, beautiful in its expression. All right. And of course, one of the more famous statues of the Black Madonnas. These statues are considered, literal gods. The statue of the Black Madonna in Poland is considered the Queen of Poland. She is referred to as the Queen of Poland. They change her clothes. This is clothes that this have on. They change the clothes and and put on new clothes and have special people wash the clothes and you know, and new garments and what do you call it, the chain and the staff and the little crown for the little man's head. These are garments they have on here that come off, and they change them and put them back on up to a day like now. You can't just go and be playing with this and be taking pictures and so on. So what I'm expressing to you, my family, is, you know, the level of importance that the Black Madonna and Child is given in Europe. It may have gone over our head, or our heads, because it's more than one of us. But for sure, this is something that's a reality in the world. So we, as the African people who has been somewhat bamboozled into, you know, promoting the white Virgin Mary, or the white Virgin of Mary, and the little child, yet still those who gave us that, I don't know where they got it from, but they're holding on to our stuff. And I know where they got that from. They got it from us, to the point that they're dressing statues and making sure that they clean and brush their teeth and all of that. All right, maybe a little exaggeration there. But if they could open their mouths, they would brush their teeth. Then, of course, in Islam, you can see the foundation of Islam. We did a whole episode on Islam. We have a documentary speaking of Rastafari, Haile Selassie, and Islam. You know, that's available, that you could get a copy of that, Rastafari, Haile Selassie, and Islam. And we're showing you clearly, obviously, you could see the difference between Bilal, which is seen here on top of the Kishwa itself, where the Kaaba is, as far as a drawing, and other members of the faithful around him. And you could see the obvious difference with Bilal and the other individuals. You could see he's much darker. Who is Bilal? Bilal is the Ethiopian. Bilal is, I think, the third or the fourth highest in Islamic understanding of, well, let's just say sainthood, although they may not use that term. Bilal specifically is the individual that called for the first prayer. The first call to prayer was done by Bilal. Prophet Muhammad said that he sees Bilal, or he heard Bilal's footsteps going into paradise before him. That is why we did a whole program on it. That is why the Ethiopians preserved the Islamic tradition for Muhammad. Yeah, man, you didn't know that. The Ethiopian king preserved the Islamic tradition for Muhammad. In fact, the tradition that is called Islam is an ancient tradition, again coming out of Ethiopia. It may look Arabized today because that is what has happened. But as you could see, it is a black man that had to initiate it for them. Bilal, buried in Syria, is a black man that had to give the call for them to come and bow down and worship. The first Islamic prayer was called by the black god Bilal. And there's so much racism in Arab Islam today, it's not funny. There's a serious hatred by Arabs for black people, and some of you not aware of that, but it's deep. That's why they even disrespect Bilal. If you go to his grave in Syria, it is not even well kept because of the hatred that they have for him. When again, obviously, the whole construct, Islam is African. That's why it's an African that had to come and bring it to them. You see, history not going to explain that to you properly. Not even Islamic history will explain that to you properly. We have to remember we are hundreds, in some cases, thousands of years removed from these stories that we're trying to piece together. And we just get a sentence or two and we think we know everything. But I'm telling you, Bilal is who brought that religion, that morality, that Prophet Muhammad used to construct what you call Islam today. Look, you can see it for itself. The knowledge Bilal brought from Africa, you could see it for yourself. The way we kneel and pray and sip water from the earth, which is salvation, you can see it for yourself. That came from this. So this is why you can see for yourself again that there's a strong presence of the African in ancient Islam. There's a strong presence of the black man in all ancient traditions, even as the medicine man, as you even see here, you know. And the Moors, keep in mind that the Moors in general was the ones that went into Europe and civilized them. You hear about the Renaissance, as one of our teachers would say, we brought civilization for the second time to Europe. When the Moors came in from Coldebar and these places, we brought back the whole level of hygiene. Remember, in these places, nobody was washing their skin. Nobody knew what to do with their feces. All of these movies we watch make us believe that Europe was this civilization from all however long when. You understand? Europe only woke up when they drove the Moors out of Spain. The Moors from 711, write this down, from 711 to 1492 AD we talking about. The Moors came in and revived Europe from 711. And when Ferdinand and Isabella drove them out in 1492, that's the same year Columbus go and jump on the boats to go and discover some new world, because they needed something to revive them again now that the Moors were gone. So whatever little civilization Europe had when Columbus jumped on his boats, it is us. It is us. We were the one that taught them everything, even to navigate the sea. Columbus needed the Moors. It was a Moor, a black African, that had to help them navigate the sea to come to the Western world. So we are the true civilizers. And then when we come out of Europe now, and we check India, remember India is considered to be East Ethiopia. In many books, when you hear about East Ethiopia, you're gone past Arabia, etc. We've gone into India. It is said that India has the largest, some people would say the largest black population in the world, which they really mean black in the sense of the color black, the skin, dark skin, not necessarily what we may want to call African, but I mean dark skin. If we're looking at people as the color of their skin now, dark skin. India is said to have the most, really. But then let's look at the tradition. This is Shanti Deva, one of the ancient Indian gods as such, not necessarily gods in the Western term, but the god Shanti Deva, for sure. Shanti Deva, which is considered to be, you know, in the category of Nagarjuna, etc. But as you can see, this great Buddha-like figure, Shanti Deva, is obviously a black man. You see, the thing with the Indian gods and the Indian tradition, all of these gods and deities and superheroes of India were black people. So here you have Shanti Deva as being black. Well, we know that Buddha is black, you know, but we're just taking our time. Let's just deal with some other people beside the Buddha first. Shanti Deva, obviously a black man. Then, of course, you have Vishnu. This is Vishnu here, the great Vishnu, the great God Vishnu, playing on his little flute. Yeah, black as midnight, you know. And then, you know, somebody's going to still come and say, well, the reason why he's black. I told you already about the candles. Yes, and I told you already about the person next to him. Look, there's somebody right here with Vishnu. Look, Vishnu here and a woman here. Why isn't she black? And her hair is black. Why isn't she black like him? And why is his eyes still white if it's the soot from the candle that made him black? My people, it is obvious. And I'm not making mockery of this. These are the things that you would read in books. I've read these things in books. We did an episode on the YouTube the other day entitled Stop the Lies About Haile Selassie in Ethiopia. And in that video, a fellow was saying, not a fellow, only Walter Cronkite was saying that the Ethiopians were Europeans that turned black from the African sun. Now, which supermarket you can go with that and buy something? You expect us to believe that? But then there are people that believe that, you know, because they just want to take away all credit from the Africans. So it's obvious that before the propaganda began, somebody painted the true color of Vishnu. Not Vishnu, what is his name? Krishna. Somebody painted the original color of Krishna, the original color of Shantideva, the original color of whoever else, the Black Madonna. Somebody did the original painting of Moses, the original painting of Christ, the original painting of God, the original painting of the saints before somebody came and tried to whitewash everything, which is what we are getting today. So then now we have Vishnu. So this is Krishna, this is Vishnu. Krishna, Vishnu, everybody black alike, black, 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 Shantideva, Krishna, Vishnu, Krishna, you understand? Good. Then now you have the Buddha himself. And everyone know you could even see within the structure of the hair of the Buddha, the knotty hair of the Buddha, the bumpy hair of the Buddha. That's why when he returned, his locks going to be longer. He started locks in long time. So the Buddha is a black man. Remember, India, the India you know today is not the India of ancient time. That alone should prove to you that all these Indian gods have to be black people. Have to be black people. Because remember, India being a black nation is very recent. Is very recent, to the point that up to today, India still have the majority of dark people on the earth. You understand? So it has always been a black nation. India is not a pale nation. See, like Europe is a pale nation and maybe China, but you would argue that they still have black origin. That is true. But the case of India, to me, is more outstanding, to the point that up to today, they have the people in India, the untouchables, that they disregard, that they put away because of the color of their skin. Then you have, obviously, you see the, we call them the cornrows. These are what they call cornrows, but you can see the similarity of the Buddha in Africa, in India, with the Africans in general. You know, it's one family because we're all ones. Then now, of course, in India, who we have here, let us take a good look at this here. This is some important stuff. We have Sir Muhammad Khan. Looks like a black man to me. He is. Khan of Kalat, located in the center of the modern province of Balochistan, pardon me, which is in Pakistan. So Pakistan now, for those who do their study, you would know that Pakistan is India, really. Pakistan is India. Pakistan only became Pakistan when the British gave back India, and you know they mash up the people them, and you have Pakistan, Bangladesh, what's the other place, Sri Lanka. All of these places were one place until the British came in and mashed it up. So these are Africans from India, not just Indian looking people, not dark Indians with straight hair as we know them, with no disrespect to anyone. Africans as we know them were actually rulers in India. Here you have Sardar Singh Maharaja, which is a Sanskrit title for great king or high king of Judipur, aka Mawar, a region of southwestern Rajasthan state in western India. So you have Sardar Singh, and he was considered to be a Maharaja, which is the great king or the high king. Beautiful brother here. So what this is showing you, that even from ancient time in India, and we're talking about you know within the period, this is 1880, 1911. This is just the other day to a degree, you know, but what I'm showing you, even from ancient time, you have the black presence in India coming up to, well, not modern time, but fairly recent, historically speaking time. You can still see the strong African presence in India, even to the point of a ruling class. This is very important because remember, in India today, you know, you have groups of Africans. I mean, Africans, Black Africans with the African look living right there in India. Here again, you can see some portraits of some famous Indian kings, Black kings. You could see them with the tradition of the turban. You could see them burning their chalices as well. You could see other type of people around them. This look like a type of modern day dark Indian, some pale Arabs or some people from Iran. You know, he looked like a real scamp boy. I'm sorry to say that. But anyway, you have different ones, so you could clearly see the ethnicity. There's a gathering of different nations here. There's a gathering of different nations here. These are the Black kings of India. So it's obvious that all around here, again, this is India. As you can see, the Indian daughters, and in the midst of them, you can see the darker of the Indian, if you want to say that, the African stock. But the point I'm making is, family, once more, that is obvious that now we're basically going around the world. Eh? You see, we started in Africa. We made sure we went into Europe to show you that we were the ones that gave them their foundation, historically, religiously, architecture. We have been touching so many different things: England, Greece, Rome, you know, biblical figures, Islam, and then we went through India here with good understanding. So now we can take a look at even China. Now, who you may be looking at here, this is said to be the founder of the Song Dynasty. Now, the Song Dynasty is just about 960 to 976. But you could see here, and the Song Dynasty is not the first dynasty in China. The Shang Dynasty, the Shai Dynasty, and people would argue now that these dynastic periods were much older, obviously, than the Song. But if you look at the founder of the Song Dynasty, you can see that he's obviously a man of dark complexion. Now, if you look at these people, well, at the same time, they have a similar look to the Olmec, because historically, the Olmec specifically had connection to China. That is for sure. Because again, Chinese, as we call them at that time, were not exactly the Chinese that you know today. You know what I'm saying? Very important. So with the Shang dynasty and the Shai dynasty, these coming up the Yellow River of China, these were African dynasties in China. The first set of dynastic periods in China were Black people. So this says here, early Chinese dynasties had Black emperors. Both the Shang and the Shai dynasties had Black rulers according to ancient texts. According to Professor Xu Xingling, the earliest documented rulers in China were referred to as Xuande. Yes, Xuande, a phrase that translates to the Black emperor. So again, this is without doubt that the origin of dynastic China is Black. But I'm trying to show you that even this, in the Song dynastic period, is not the origin of dynastic China. And even up to then, it is still Black. So this is something undeniable. Okay, now speaking of China again, you know, the martial arts that we know of today, not just Kung Fu, but from Tai Chi, because remember, they're all related, Tai Chi and Kung Fu and Karate, good. But for sure, we have Bodhidharma. Bodhidharma now, he also left from India. But remember, India is a Black nation at that time. And Bodhidharma, you don't get no blacker than that. he specifically came to China, and he was the one, and this was during the same time of the Song period, and he was the one that brought the ancient art. That's why in Mount Song, you'll find the temple of Bodhidharma, and you see the cave where he meditated for months upon months. And he was the one that brought the technique of the Zen meditation. Bodhidharma, an African from Eastern Ethiopia, also called India in nowadays, but Eastern Ethiopia at that time. He was the one that came and brought that ancient Shaolin technique. So all these things, the Zen meditation, Kung Fu in general, the Shaolin technique, and even the art of the samurai, you know, and karate. Remember, karate is from Konsu in Ethiopia. We have already proved that already. So the point is, family, that Bodhidharma, Master Bodhidharma, is an Ethiopian, the Ethiopian that brought the ancient art, the martial arts, the ancient art of Kung Fu and Shaolin Kung Fu specifically to China. So when we believe that China and Bruce Lee and these things are the origin of it, no, it began with the African. And you could see here on the walls specifically of the temple, you can see them going back and forward. You could see them sparring with each other. Again here, this is to just prove, without a doubt, that you have different ethnicities working here. Even if they're just practicing, you can see that there's a darker man. He has a bump on his head, boy, like he got a real blow earlier. But you have a darker man here, darker people, and then you have a much paler individual. And you can see even their hands interlocked with each other. It's two types of people. So the point is now that you know, you highlighting this, someone might say, oh, so why you have to highlight that one is black and one is white? Let's all just get along. No, don't try that now. You're too late. This is not about let's all get along at all. If it was left up to you, me and my children would believe that we had nothing at all to do with this. So it is necessary for me to highlight this before all the paint comes off of the wall. You know, these fellas will come and even try to take the paint off so you don't know that you were here. You were here. You were here. Oh man, if they could have thrown these away. You were here. These same Olmec people are the same people that had correspondence with the same Shang dynasty and the Shai dynasty. That is why these people are referred to as what? What do they call the Olmec? The Shai people. And this is why you see the Olmec very similar to the Naga people in the East. Because the Naga people, which is the same Indian type of people, the people you find in the Pacific Islands, still connect to the same dragon people of China. Because there's a similar stock that they all come from, the African stock that brought all of them into existence. So the Shai people is related to the Shai dynasty and the Shang dynasty, and they have records of them trading with each other as well. They have records of Chinese emperor Shang Li leaving China and coming to Mesoamerica among the Olmec people, his family. So the Olmec now, again, remember, we were the ones that brought architecture to the earth. So it is us, the same Black people, that brought the civilization of pyramid buildings to the world. This is why the mounds in China and whatever pyramids in China that you can see is very similar to the pyramids you see in South America. The pyramids that were built and the structures in general that was built by the Incas and the Mayans, they were built by the African Olmec people. That is exactly what it is. It is our engineering and science that we brought to civilize the people in China. Again, that's why you have the pyramids, the mounds in China, and similar pyramids and mounds in Central and South America, and even parts of North America as well. It is the Olmec people, the Shai people, I'll repeat again, the Shai XI, very similar to the Shire dynasty, XIA, the same oneness. And you have records of the leader of the Emperor of China, I should say, Shang Li, trading with the same Olmec people, going back and forth. So it's obvious that there is a connection. And again, we are the civilizers, the same engineering energy and spirit that we use to build the pyramids, the same energy and spirit that we use to build those, the Merkut or Merkute, plural, also known as pyramids, that you see in Mesoamerica. You see the oneness, and that craft was brought by the Olmec. So you could look now at the ancient statues of Angkor Wat and Angkor Thom in Cambodia. And if you look at them good, you may say they look Oriental, right? But they also look Olmec too. Look at them good. They also have an Olmec sort of figure because they are a blend of the very same people. They are a blend of the same very original African stock. And if you look at Angkor Thom, you can see the structure of the Black King, the structure of the Black man again, you know, that again, and just the nose structure and everything shows you that it's an original African, without any disrespect to anyone, but not necessarily an Indian looking feature with dark skin, but the full African thick nose, thick lips vibration, even to the point when the roots of the trees come down, it looks like the dreadlocks African man. This is the foundation of the Pacific Islands and the foundation of Cambodia and the Philippines, as they call them, from King Philip of France or Greece or whoever it was that they named the Philippines after, and Filipino and all of that kind of stuff. But the point is that you could see up to today, when you go to these places, you see some dark people, and even Africans. When you go to these places, you see the original Africans there with the afros and the woolly hair. Up to this day, they are the originators of that area. And then now, when you even come back to the other side of the island, again, not the island, but of the world, even similar and closer to the whole Olmec story, you have the kings and queens of Hawaii. This is Hawaii, and we're almost complete here, family. This is Hawaii, one of the great kings of Hawaii now, my family. This is the one known as, let me pronounce it good, Kamehameha. Yes, Kamehameha. Yes, the first. I hope I got this correctly, specifically. But yeah, but he's one of the great kings of Hawaii. I think he was born around 1758 and around that time. And of course, you know how it is. It is said that he was the founder and the first ruler of the kingdom of Hawaii. But of course, you know how it is. The state of Hawaii gave a statue to him, to the national, they gave a statue of him, pardon me, to the National Statuary Hall collection in Washington, D.C. Now, for sure, you know the story of Hawaii. You know how it is that the Europeans came and really took these people outside of their realms. We might say, oh, Hawaii is a part of the United States of America and all of that stuff. But nah, let me show you this one here. This one is the real killer now. But anyway, as you could see him there in his glory. But this sister now, we're talking about the last Black queen of Hawaii, who was overthrown by a US-backed coup. That is who she was now. So this is how serious the thing is. Okay, listen to this. This is something that was written by Ligan H. Glegg II. White Southerners who settled in the Hawaiian Islands during the 19th century had a song about the native people which ran, "You many call them Hawaiians, but they look like niggers to me." You hear that? You many call them Hawaiians, but they look like niggers to me. From King Kamehameha to Queen Liliuokalani. That's a Liliuokalani. Each Hawaiian ruler was very dark-skinned with Negroid features. It is one of the incredible ironies of history that few Americans are aware that the original Hawaiians were Black people and that their royal family was one of the greatest in the 19th century. And that is from LeGrand H. Glegg II. All right, looking at the Clock family, have a time span we're working with. We're still sticking in the Americas as we're looking to wrap up. We have Benjamin Banneker. Now, Benjamin Banneker is an inventor. He's an astronomer. He is specifically the individual that mapped out the city of Washington, D.C., that brought it to the architectural level that it is today, that you know it as Washington, D.C. That was mapped out by Benjamin Banneker for sure. And he's the one that invented the science of the clock as we know it today. Even the clock in England that they call Big Ben, it was named from him, Benjamin Banneker. So really the architecture of Washington, D.C. and a lot of inventions in the United States of America, they have to give credit to Benjamin Banneker. Then you have another great inventor, you know, a great scientist, botanist, great thinker, a great lover of humanity. We have George Washington Carver, also was with the Tuskegee University for a long time. And of course, many people credit him for inventing a lot of things with peanut. Some say peanut butter as well, but some deny that. But he did more than peanut and peanut butter. He's a master inventor for sure, even down to crayons. They say that he was the one that invented crayons. He knew how to take plants and take the phytochemicals from the plants and make medicine. He had a certain relationship with the plants. He was a poet and just an all-around good figure. He's considered one of the greatest inventors in the United States of America, and he's one of the many inventors who definitely go unheralded for the contribution that he has made to that civilization that we have today, which is called the United States of America. And there are many Black inventors, many Black heroines and heroes that have gone before, that have brought forth many different things, from the floppy disk to the bicycle, to the stethoscope, to the traffic light, to the microwave, and many other things, many aspects of the motor cars, many things that have been invented, that the United States of America, from the light, the telephone, many things have been created by the Black Africans in the United States of America that has gone totally unrewarded for. Even in the books of history, we don't even hear about them. So this is why we had to do a presentation like this. This is why we took it from the beginning. This is why we took a quick trip around the world, so you could understand for sure that Africa and Africans did not just have a hand in all civilization, but they were the foundation and obviously an integral part of all known, established, and accepted civilizations today. Give thanks. Holy Manuelai, Selassie, Jah, Rastafari. I give thanks, family, for those who took the time to sit in with us. You know, for those who would like to, you know, make a contribution, maybe towards the lecture or just towards the works that we are doing. Of course, the Cash App, $ Priest Isaac 27, or the PayPal, Priest Isaac Institute, or of course, depending on where you are seeing this video, it will be in the description. You will find the link for both Cash App or PayPal in the description. Or if you need more information, you could email us at priestisaacinstitute@gmail.com. If you visit our website, which is priestisaacinstitute.com, and you browse the website, you will definitely get more information on how you can definitely contact us. I would like to encourage you to be a part of our international homeschool classes. I would like to encourage you to enroll your children today. We definitely offer African heritage and astronomy. Our classes are sent out daily via the email, over 140 classes which are designed for the children specifically. And of course, this whole academic year will go for a period of approximately 10 months. I definitely can promise you that your young ones will love it. And we have a very special offer that is going on right now for a limited time. Of course, for more information, you could visit the website, or you could definitely email us. You could email us and get a free sample of the class, so you have a good idea of exactly what you would be receiving with our international homeschool classes. My family, I would encourage you, do not pass this opportunity by. If you have children and you definitely want them to develop a specific love for their Afrocentricity, I promise you that the international homeschool classes will definitely get the job done. I'd definitely like to highlight to you our book, Anu, Ancient and Modern Revisited, and of course the book, The True Biblical Land of Israel. You could visit the website once again and visit the area known as Shop, and you could definitely get a better understanding of all the products that we have available to you. Our books, our courses, and our consultations, everything available right here on our website. Looking forward for you to give us a visit. And remember to join us in the Tiger's Nest every Monday to Thursday. That's on Radio Anu International, also available on the website priestisaacinstitute.com. That's our nightly radio program where we give you more information and inspiration, the Tiger's Nest. And of course, every Sunday morning, we have the Sunday morning's cup of tea. The program is known as Kidemi from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. Give thanks, family. Give thanks for your love. Give thanks to the life giver and the keeper of life. And it was a joy that we could sit and take this to another level. I hope it would have added to you and would have made it, made your day and your evening worthwhile. Holy Manuel I, Selassie Jah Rastafari. Give thanks. Blessed love.